Support for Ramplifi comes from Victorville Cadillac, offering a selection of new and pre-owned Cadillac vehicles. More information about Victorville Cadillac's latest inventory is available at vvcadillac.com.
This is Ramplify, the podcast at Victor Valley College. Victor Valley College. Victor Valley College.
Hello, this is Ramplify, the podcast, brought to you by the Associated Student Body at Victor Valley College. I'm your host, once again, Andrew Caravella, Media Relations Coordinator here at VVC. Thanks again, checking us out here exclusively on the VVC mobile app. Hey, if you're listening on the go, on the audio version of the show, thanks once again for streaming us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or your favorite podcast app. Hey, we have a full house. I think the fire marshal is going to probably shut us down here. ASB is in the house. Go ahead, guys, make some noise. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have like 6 of you guys in here today, so this is good. Good. There's a good reason. We have Mayor Scott Nassif of Apple Valley in the house here. Say hello, Mayor.
Hello. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, no, we're doing really good. Thanks for being here today. There's a reason why he's here. He's an alum here of Victor Valley College. When did you go here, sir?
That far back, you're going to have to do the math. But I started here. Well, I actually was here in high school. Because they didn't have Auto 3 in Apple Valley High School, which was new.
You were a Sun Devil?
I was a Sun Devil.
All right, go Devils. I was a Sun Devil as well, yeah.
So I started there in 69, and I was here 72, 73, and then went full-time here when I graduated high school in 73 through 76.
So what was your major?
Wow. Well, I was automotive in a lot of ways. Ultimately, I was in aeronautics. Aeronautics was a big deal back then, and it still is, obviously, a growing industry. And that was the industry I chose or wanted to get involved in. So I took aeronautics and automotive here and all the general classes, as well. What
was the biggest change, in your opinion, that you've seen here on campus since your time as a student?
Wow, just a lot of the growth. Just watching the campus grow, the involvement in the community. VVC was a fairly highly ranked community college in California. And I remember as I was growing up, I talked to my father about, when you're 18, you want to go somewhere and go to college, right? I want to get out of town. And I'm looking at all the automotive and aeronautics classes throughout California, Arizona. I had relatives in Arizona, and I thought, I'm going to go there. And my dad, of course, did the research and found out that VVC had one of the highest ranked automotive and aeronautics courses in the Western United States. So he talked me into staying in Apple Valley, and I'm glad he did.
We've had this tagline in the last decade here, but based on what you're saying, I guess even back then, VVC was still the place to be. Yeah.
It was.
Hey, before we dive deep into this episode, I think it would be really cool to share with our listeners in ASB your early start as mayor into politics.
Wow.
You were a business owner for many years in Apple Valley, and you had an issue going on which ignited some activism on your part, which kind of got you into politics. I was wondering if you would mind sharing that era in your life with us here on the podcast.
Well, as many business owners can identify with me, and just to let you know, I got into automotive. I got into retail business. We owned Napa parts stores for 47 years. I was kind of tagged into that. I had dislocated my shoulder, had to have surgery back in 1975. And I was working at a garage going here. I couldn't work at the garage. I'd gotten offered an aeronautics class and training and job at Edwards Air Force Base working on lifting bodies and drones. And they were going to pay for my engineering degree and continue college. I had to postpone that for 6 months because of my shoulder. Ultimately, I worked in an auto parts store. I could turn pages and answer phones, and with one hand, and I enjoyed that so much. And by the fall of that year, that parts store owner wanted to sell. I got involved in auto parts. So I love being in business. I love working with people. So that kind of drove me ultimately into working with folks, solving problems. I like to solve problems. And that's what I got into business. So I got into the auto parts business. Ultimately, of course, now I am my own. I have to survive.
Right.
And when it comes to surviving,
that's what it's like being an entrepreneur, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And somehow in business, sometimes politics gets in that way. Caltrans or whatever's happening at the time. I had a parts store. We had bought property in the village of Apple Valley. Remember, this is late 70s and getting into the 80s. Caltrans decided to create a one-way street in front of my business, which I lost 30% of my business. Only one-way street in the Victor Valley High Desert. Ultimately, towards the end of the 80s, early 90s, they wanted to block off all the intersections in the village and make it a thoroughfare for Highway 18. Now, if anybody's familiar with Pawnee, they were going to put basically, they didn't like the cross traffic, which wasn't good. I mean, it was a lot of accidents there.
Yeah.
So the way they solve it was just put guardrails across Pawnee, and the only way to get to my place was go all the way down to Central and drive back towards Navajo, and that wasn't going to work.
Yeah, no one was going to do that.
So that got me into activism, rallied all the business owners there, rallied the town had just incorporated. We all met at a local restaurant, made some. We were going to sit in and get arrested. we were going to sit in on the intersection because they'd already delivered the guardrails. And I said, what the heck? We got nothing to lose. And ultimately, District 8 supervisor showed up and said, okay. And I started working with the town engineer, the Chamber of Commerce, worked with local business owners on a solution of right and left turn onlys, which is currently today. And we still work with Caltrans, and obviously that got involved with the town, ultimately got involved with organizing the Village Merchants Association, and grew from there. And I guess I got volunteered to running for public office eventually.
That's crazy, though, right? It's something that affected you, your livelihood.
Right.
Right? Putting food on the table is what really kind of the domino, right? The domino is what set everything in motion for your commitment to doing, local public office in the town of Apple Valley.
Yeah, trying to create a vision, and try to look at solutions before they become a problem. That's kind of my DNA. That's my family's been like that, and I guess that was what helped in the success of our business. And try to take that mindset into politics too. Try to look ahead and see problems that are coming down the road and solve them before they become a problem. Because once they're a problem, it's very difficult to clean up and fix.
Right. It's just the joke. I was ready to get arrested.
Right. We were kind of depressed. We solved the problem without getting arrested, and we knew we would get the popularity and make the front page of the newspaper. But lo and behold, our mission was accomplished.
Yeah, it worked out. It worked out. I'm good friends with Mayor Reyes over in Adelanto, and he has gone on the record talking about modeling some of the things that they do over there after Apple Valley, actually. And now when we think of the high desert, at least on this side of the world, we think of just the slice of San Bernardino County, but realistically, you have to encompass Los Angeles County too. The high desert is pretty vast. So my question, Mayor, is what makes Apple Valley unique compared to other high desert communities? So your answer obviously might be extremely biased on this one.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And we do try, again, we look to work with all the other elected officials throughout our county and throughout our high desert, and even in our state legislature and the federal government. To do that, you need to have some credibility, and you need to have some, stability. Stability in your message, continuity in your message when you go out. And we've worked on that very hard at our council with our staff, and consolidating that message, again, having the vision and relaying that to not only our constituents, but the rest of our elected officials at the state and federal level, and our local leaders at other cities too. So that's very important, and we try to model that. We try to, I grew up, you're always going to have the adversity and the folks telling you all the bad things that are going wrong and all those things, but we try to take the high road. We do listen to everybody. We take that under consideration, try to do that, and we hope, and that's how we learn. We have mentors too. I mean, we go to other communities and look for other communities that are successful and what makes them successful, and we try to model that, and we hope that other local cities like Adelanto look at what we're doing and help provide them the stability and wherewithal that they need.
This one might be a little controversial, but
Okay.
And just so everybody knows, he had no preparation before these. I like to kind of surprise people on these ones.
Yeah.
How do you see Apple Valley evolving over the next 5 to 10 years realistically? And is In-N-Out or a Trader Joe's potentially on that list?
That's been on the list, and it continues to be on the list. We actually, we're going to grow. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, let me start there. We look at the numbers. I'm a numbers guy. Being in business, I gotta know what's happening tomorrow for me to prepare.
Yeah.
Right. So we look at California is struggling business wise, and maybe that's a lot to do with our legislator, the cost of doing business, employment. There's a lot of reasons for that. The projection is, and you've probably heard it, that we'll probably lose a couple of congressional seats over the next 10, 20 years. Probably going to lose 5% of our population in California. But Southern California is expected to grow by 5%, and the Inland Empire, and in particular, the high desert region, because we have land, opportunity, stability, we're expected to grow 10 to 20% over the next 10 to 20 years. So knowing that, we need to be prepared. And we need to market that to investors in our community, which is, Trader Joe's and the In-N-Outs and all those. And you can see a lot happening in Apple Valley. And in fact, we go to what's called ICSC in Las Vegas. We'll be going next month in May. We go every year. I go. I'm able to talk to business owners because I have the investors, because I have that background, so that helps a little bit. We have a very excellent staff on economic development, so we go. And ICSC is the International Shopping Centers Association conference, and there's it fills up the whole Las Vegas Convention Center, and there's lenders, vendors, everything from A to Z on development and growth. And we meet with specific folks that are looking to grow, and including Trader Joe's and including In-N-Out Burger. And they are interested, and they are looking, and we try to give them the demographics and the numbers they need to invest. But we can't make them, but we can certainly listen to what would bring them to our community. And they are interested, and we're hopefully we can make some promising announcements over the next year or so. I know you've seen some new growth that's happening in Apple Valley, both on Bear Valley Road and even over on Rancherias and Highway 18, and that'll continue.
What's your order? Is it double?
Yeah, double. Yeah. With everything, crispy onions and fries.
I like grilled onions too.
Yeah.
For our students, what advice, Mayor, would you give them who want to get involved in their city but aren't sure where to start?
Well, I talked to a lot of folks and young folks about that. It's very important. If they want to get involved, get connected. First of all, be involved in the community in whatever ways you can. Whether it's in volunteering, build the resume, and a lot of it has to do with volunteering, getting involved with the projects, events that happen in the city. We do a lot in Apple Valley. I mean, we really try to have our concerts in the park, our very robust parks and rec system out there.
Yeah, no, I've been out to some of your concerts in the park. They are robust.
And we do in our Freedom Festival, on the 4th of July, our running events. They've all grown in attendance tremendously over the last few years. And that's kind of been our Apple Valley's DNA, is provide something for folks to do, whether it be on the weekend or evenings or in the summer. And so that volunteer program at all levels, whether it be here at the college, like you guys are out here looking and doing, what you're doing is exactly what you need to do. Get involved in the activities, get involved. I never thought about that kind of stuff. I was afraid to do public speak. I had to take a class in college to learn how to public speak, because I'd take an F in high school instead of getting up front of the class. So, I had to force myself into doing these things in order to achieve the goals I wanted to do. So don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to fail, and get involved in the community at all levels and whatever it is. And that's where you get recognized. That's where folks tend to ask you to represent them because of your involvement. And that's the best way to get started.
And then before we take a break here, here's an interesting question. For our students and anyone else listening to this podcast that may not know this term, what is a sister city, and does the town of Apple Valley have one? And if not, are there plans in the future to have one?
A sister city is usually one, it's kind of like a mentor city. You learn from what they do. It's a city that's usually in another region. economically or even in another part of the world that might be similar in size and government and goals, objectives, and growth that you might have. I know Apple Valley had a sister city in China way back in the 90s. And I know the council at that time got involved in that. We've been so busy just trying to figure out our growth and everything that's happened. We haven't latched onto that. We do get involved with the League of California Cities. So basically all 480 cities in California, 484 cities, I think, are our sister cities, and we get involved at the national level. But that isn't as big a deal because of the networking that we do today that it used to be. But it's kind of fun to look at that, and we have talked about that maybe a little more locally, so we're not traveling overseas to see it, but something in another region or another facet would be fun to explore.
Just something to talk about.
Yep.
So, all right, we are going to take a quick break, and then we will be back with Mayor Scott Nassif of the town of Apple Valley in a hot minute. Don't go away. Support for Ramplifi comes from Victorville Cadillac, offering a selection of new and pre-owned Cadillac vehicles. More information about Victorville Cadillac's latest inventory is available at vvcadillac.com.
This is Ramplify, the podcast at Victor Valley College. Victor Valley College. Victor Valley College.
All right, welcome back to Ramplify the podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Caravella, Media Relations for Victor Valley College. This podcast is brought to you by the Associate Student Body. Thank you for streaming us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or your favorite podcast app, or even through the free VVC mobile app. In the hot seat, he hasn't left yet, so...
always in the hot seat.
Always in the hot seat.
Yeah, that's what I live in.
I really do enjoy some of these social media posts on online of some of the things, that are said. God bless you for just, trying to just take it all on. And Mr. Mayor, you are a trooper. You know that?
I appreciate that. I've learned to do that. That's part of the training that you go through when you become an elected official through the League of California Cities.
They train you on how to handle all that.
Yes, they do.
Is it like combat training? Like, how does it?
Somewhat, yeah. Somewhat. I can tell you, I tell people, you see it on posts. Okay, I'm old. I told you I graduated in high school in 73. So I've been through, whether it be newspaper, whether it be radio or TV, this goes back since time began on the way people communicate to leaders and elected officials. Everybody has a different way to do it. Some think that, the things that you read and getting our attention and by trying to intimidate or do things as a way to do it, and some do it a different way. But it's just a way you have to manage. I tell people I worked retail for 47 years, so I know how to deal with that. So
well, customer service is a
right, and you have to learn to take the high road. And my parents taught me how to deal with that too. They said, take the high road, don't get in the mud. All those different things. You can take it, protect those who can't do that. And that's the other thing I try to do is people that do get that don't have the training or don't have the ability to protect themselves, protect them. That's my role. And I do that when I was in business with my employees, my family, and with my constituents and as an elected official. That's more important than, trying to fight the folks that want to take you down.
All my time doing journalism and going to Walter Cronkite and being at KFI and iHeartRadio and Los Angeles, like learning how to weed through stories and sources. It really is mind-blowing to me. Some of the things people will present to you as their evidence as to the conclusions they draw about people, public figures, mayors, elected officials, celebrities, and some of the conclusions they draw without actually getting the full story. It's mind-blowing to me. So that's why when I say, like, is it combat training? I say that tongue in cheek because it's wild to me, some of the things that get said and get twisted and stuff. And, people tell me like, God, you're so down the middle, you should run for office. And my answer to that for myself is no.
A lot of people tell me that.
I don't know
they go,
how you do it.
a lot of people tell me that. And that's a problem in some cases. And it's always been there. You know, a lot of folks don't want to deal with that. I look at it as more of a challenge. And keeping in mind, I tell people, perception is a reality. So the person's perception and what they believe is their reality. Now, I think and I had to do this as a business owner. I had to listen. When I would make a decision, I would listen to my customers, my suppliers, my family, and my employees to try to make the best decision. Now, you're not always right. You're not always going to be right, and you can't be afraid to fail, but try to get all the information that you can before you make that decision. My family, we listen, we don't listen to just one news source. We listen to all the news. I try to read everything I can, especially when it comes to political atmosphere. And you're never going to please everybody. I got to tell you a little story.
Let's hear it.
I don't know if I'm on video or not.
No.
So I told you about training. When the League of Cities is an excellent. We go to every year they have what's called the Council Member Mayor Academy, and it's mainly kind of for newer mayors and council members, but we all attend it, and it's usually about half the people were there because every year things change. But I'll never forget the first time I went, the first class, the first one, he goes, "You're all brand new. You're all shiny. Everybody loves you, and you're just done everything right to get elected." And you go to your first meeting, and he holds up a piece of paper, and he goes, "You have to make a decision." He goes, "And you make the decision, and now half the people don't agree with it." And he folds the paper in half. And he goes, "Now you just upset half the people." And then he goes, in your next meeting, you have another decision you have to make about your town, and half the people agree with you and half don't, and he folds it in half. So in about 10 minutes, he has it down to this little teeny piece of paper, and he goes, "By the end of 6 months, this is the only people that agree with you on everything." And he said the point being is communication is so key, is to let people know why you made those decisions, where you came up with the reasons why you did that, and help educate the folks on the benefit to them in the future and what's going to grow. You'll never make everybody happy. You've got to accept that and move forward and accept what the folks do. So I always thought that always stuck with me on that. And so I do try to communicate. When there is obviously there's a lot of just regular stuff we do, but there's major decisions we make in our town, and it's very important that we communicate to the community why and how we made those decisions.
I came across some interesting social media posts from numerous people on the interwebs, and I was hoping that we could get some clarification on what they mean in the town of Apple Valley.
Okay.
One was from an engineer that says Bear Valley Road in Apple Valley is moving forward with a connectivity path project. She says that it will enhance walkability, expand bike access, and support public transit. Can you speak a little bit about that project?
Well, Bear Valley obviously is a major corridor. So, and again, I'm old. We used to call that the Bear Valley Cutoff when we came from the highway. There was no lights, if you can imagine that. Now it's like a freeway. I think there's more cars on Bear Valley Road than there are on Interstate 15. So we have a lot of focus on Bear Valley Road. That's where it's pretty much the center of the Victor Valley. I mean, a lot of folks from Victorville, Hesperia, everything east, even Big Bear, Lucerne Valley.
Turning into our Wilshire Boulevard.
It is, and it is. So we spend a lot of focus on that corridor, and what we're talking about is up from Apple Valley Road all the way up towards Kiowa, up that ridge. We've been really looking forward to bike paths and walking paths. Number one, to help our public. Number two, to help encourage investment and development along that corridor. So that's a project that we got, and we got some grant funding. We're one of the top, if not the top city in California on acquiring grants. Our budget's very slim, if you might imagine. We're not on the freeway. We don't have the revenues that other cities have, so we rely heavily on matching grants. So creating projects that are shovel ready, and then we can apply for those grants, and that's what we're doing there.
The village in Apple Valley is updating its own identity as well. There's an artist who recently created an art installation of welded Joshua trees, from what I've been told. Anything else you can add to the conversation regarding the village?
Well, as I mentioned before, I helped organize the village merchants, and ultimately we organized what's the PBID, which is a village business owners property investment organization, and all of us have voted over the years, every 5 years, and now we have, I think, 10 years, to invest in our community down there. We all tax ourselves. We rated the tax based on frontage to Highway 18 or lots, or if you're off Highway 18 or vacant lots. And we've all voted, and the majority And that money goes towards investing in the village. If you see in the frontage, the drainage, you've seen landscaping along there, sidewalks, and of course investing in grants. Well, that the new Joshua Tree, that was part of our vision, is to put more artwork in that village, help create, and that type of stuff elevates the property values. That ultimately elevates our investment in the community and helps. So we're funding our own, investment down there. So those Joshua Trees, that artwork was paid for and installed by the property owners in the village, and we'll continue to do that. We do the parade, that's all put on by the village property owners. The street fair that we do every year, and a lot of the events down there are put on by the property owners down there in partnership with the town of Apple Valley.
This one's a fun one.
Okay.
I think a lot of the students here are going to kind of smile to themselves.
Okay.
This is, I'm going to laugh at this one. This is good. It's kind of controversial. There's another road project in Apple Valley. It gets mixed reviews all the time on social media. And I'm not sure if it's because it's a new concept for the high desert, but you guys are getting ready to install a traffic circle, a roundabout, if you will, at the intersection of Rincon and Yucca Road. I used to actually ride my bike past that intersection growing up. Yes, I grew up in Apple Valley. I know that intersection very well. And listen, we've had a traffic circle right here at the college, two traffic circles over the last 7 years now. Mayor, I'm telling you, it's interesting to see people in the high desert still to this day not grasp the concept of going around in a circle. So let's speak about the one going up in Apple Valley.
First of all, the demand for that was tremendously increased by the connection to Yucca Bridge. Again, let's go back a little bit, and then I'll get to the traffic circle. Yeah. The Yucca Bridge, which was put in, we dedicated and opened in 2017. It was a vision that our council, I've been on the council for 24 years, so part of that visioning was we had a choice of either widening Apple Valley Road all the way to Highway 18, which would have been a tremendous impact to the homeowners there. An engineer came up to us, and which was always kind of in the plan and was to put Yucca Bridge and ultimately go to Victorville. And we chose to do that, try to create another east-west corridor and take the traffic congestion off Apple Valley Road. And until and we had to work very hard to convince Victorville to connect because they, that it was economically beneficial to both of us. And they put in their connection here a few years ago to Green Tree Boulevard. Wow. So now the traffic, as you know, just increased exponentially on Yucca Road across there, as we knew. So now we have a tremendous amount of congestion on Apple Valley Road and Yucca and including Rincon and Yucca. As you go there now, it's a four-way stop. It has been for a long time, and it could take you almost 15 minutes to go
to get
one, two, go by. The choice engineers come up with two choices, really, three choices. Four-way stop, not working. And we are planning to widen, by the way, eventually from Rincon into the village to complete that corridor. But funding is funding. Traffic lights or roundabout or circle. Traffic light, and we did a whole presentation on this last summer. They both cost about the same to install. Over time, it's obviously less expensive to maintain a roundabout than traffic lights and those kind of things. The impact of traffic lights on the homeowners locally was an issue, so we had to weigh that. Traffic accidents were the next biggest thing. Are there more or less traffic accidents on a roundabout versus traffic lights? And that comes up. The studies show, and it pretty much shows everywhere, they're about the same amount of traffic accidents at a signal lights because if anybody's been around this area, people tend to run red lights a lot.
No.
So you have more I call them grinders, bigger, heavier, more impactful accidents at a traffic light because you got a guy running 30 miles an hour through a red light and the other person just starting to come out and they get T-boned. Those are a lot more. There are traffic accidents on a roundabout because people are learning to use them, but they're much lower speeds. Roundabouts also keep the traffic moving. If you've ever used them anywhere, you don't have to stop. We go to relatives in Arizona. There's a lot of a lot of them in Arizona. If you go down by the beaches, that's a lot.
There's a lot.
Escondido, we were just down there, and their downtown has 4 traffic circles all the way through their intersection through downtown. We're even considering it maybe in the village. But the idea is to keep the traffic moving at a slower pace. So you're moving, you don't have to stop, there's less frustration. And people are more cautious. If you've ever been in a roundabout, they're more cautious about entering, making sure. My wife's always making sure, hey, there's a car coming. Okay, I see it. But, I know we're a lot more cautious when we enter those traffic circles and the roundabouts. And I think they're easier to navigate. I think they're safer. I've used them a lot. So that's a decision that the council made. Time will tell, but I think ultimately, our residents will get used to them. And I think there are planned. I talked to Victorville. There are some there. I guess they're keeping an eye on us. That there are some plans in the Victorville, and I think you'll see more and more of them because they are in certain areas. Instances, right? Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. They do work better than traffic lights, especially in. You got to remember this is a residential area.
Yeah.
Traffic lights aren't. I don't particularly like. I would not want to live next. Have a traffic light going off in my bedroom all night long.
No.
Red and green. So I think we'll see how that goes. But yeah, there's been a lot of talk. Again, getting that educated out to the folks, reminding them that anybody wants to look, and I forgot the date of that meeting, but all the PowerPoints and everything on what helped us make that decision, which it took us probably 3 years to get to that point. We looked at all the options and what was best for our community.
Yeah. And hey, if that's news to you guys, that the college has traffic circles. Yes, we've had them for about 7 years. Students that get picked up by Uber and Lyft, it's news to Uber and Lyft. So if you ever want to practice,
come to the college.
Come to the college and give it a go.
I think it works great. I mean, I was here and I don't have a problem.
Yeah, no, they're easy to use. Let's talk about Measure P.
Okay.
Apple Valley passed this ballot measure on taxes during the last election. That one says that it maintains 911 response times, safe routes to school programs, cleans parks, establishes a penny sales tax, which averages around $9 million a year until ended by voters. There's also an oversight committee on that measure, correct?
Correct.
Okay. How's Measure P working out for you guys?
Well, so far, I got to keep in mind, we passed that in November of 2024. We don't actually start collecting the tax from our business owners until April of 2025. We don't actually get the money because the business owners collect it. They send it to the county. Then it comes to the town. We didn't start getting it to the town till July through September of 2025. So we don't even have a full years of collecting it or what we're going to anticipate what our total annual. We think it's going to be somewhere between $9 and $11 million annually. But we decided, we went ahead and our commitment was to add to our police force. We added 8 new deputies to the police force, a new sergeant, and a new administrative officer too that handles the paperwork and everything, which has helped tremendously. You talk to our captain, he talks about we're doubling the beats we have in the town. We can be, again, more proactive rather than reactive. Instead of waiting for the calls, we can try to take care of the issues before they become issues in town. Try to get out there and prevent crime rather than just making calls on calls. And those response times are reducing. So that's already happening. We'll get our full force on duty, I think, by the end of April, because they have to go through the whole training and bringing that up. You don't just snap your fingers and they come on. But we got that going as quickly as possible. So that has worked out well, and we're looking forward to that. We are embarking in our visioning process. We kind of held, if you look at our website, it's Vision 2020, right? We did our visioning 26 years ago in 2010. And now we kind of waited. We need to see, because visioning with Measure P, without Measure P, were two different things. Visioning would have been what can we cut and what services can we maintain. Visioning with Measure P is what services can we add and enhance in the community. And so that's the visioning process we're going to. So we'll be talking about public safety, roads, and parks, and what's important to our community over the next 6 months, and implementing those policies in Measure P.
The last thing I want to touch on is I was very fortunate to grow up in an era in Apple Valley that allowed me to find myself in the arts. It worked out pretty good, made my mark in the world, went to LA, made a name for myself.
Awesome.
Got to do my thing in front of millions of listeners every week, came back to the community that I grew up in, give back to students here at the college. That being said, the amazing opportunities that I had in the arts in Apple Valley as a kid is what became my foundation during my era of youth. So my question, Mayor, is the Sing Center for the Arts is the future of the next generation of young artists coming from Apple Valley. So what does the forecast look like over there at the Sing Center? What can families in Apple Valley look forward to? Like, can we put a timeline on when projects will be frequenting the Sing Center?
Very soon, we'll have some big improvements and have a lot of opening. Obviously, we're doing a lot over there. We're doing as much as we can. The schools, Apple Valley School District is using that. In fact, we have a great partnership both with our fire district and our school district. So we share facilities. We share facilities with the school district. School district shares facilities with us. That helps keep our community together. It also helps with the revenue process. They don't have to build facilities for their infrastructure, what they need, and the same thing for us. So we share those facilities as needed. That said, the Sing Center, being donated to us, we have to put the investment in to make it a municipal facility that we can use for the performing arts, for conferences, for all different events. We're going to have two of the bigger theaters open. One will be more for performing, one will be more for filming, plus all the facilities within there for groups, organizations, and meetings, and everything on from A to Z. The other part of it, that's planning in the future as revenues become available, and the community demand becomes there, and what they'd like to see, and what we do with the remaining theaters in there. Kids come up with all kinds of great ideas, racing cars and game. I think it's a big deal now. They have the gaming contest where they have the screen and they
esports. That's huge. Yeah.
So that's been a thing, and then just all the different things. The performing arts is a big issue, and I think that's important for you to. You came back, and we appreciate that. That doesn't always happen.
No, I'm still waiting for a street sign in my name, but that's another conversation.
But we're looking forward to that, and it'll continue to grow, I think, forever. So it's going to be a big asset for a community. And we're getting a lot of outside interest too. I mean, from outside of Apple Valley, it's interesting. A lot of older theaters get donated to communities, but they're usually those small one theater. Back when I grew up, there wasn't multi-theater. Those all get back to the communities and they use them. This is kind of the first time we were trying to ask around. Nobody's ever gotten a 14 screen theater donated to them. So
we checked. Fun fact for anyone listening, we checked in the country, in the nation, and Apple Valley is the only place in the country that actually has converted a full-blown movie theater into a performing arts center. So it's a one of a kind.
So we're inventing. So again, like I said, we go out and try to get the information and work on that. It's not easy when nobody else has done that. So we're inventing our way through this.
Yeah. Pioneers.
Right? There you go.
All right. Well, we are coming to the end of the podcast. Is anyone here in the associate student body have any questions for the mayor of Apple Valley? All right, Melissa, come on over. We're going to have you use the mic here.
So my question for you is, with your leadership and your roles that you play, what is the best advice you can give to us to not go through burnout?
Wow. Oh, not to get into to burnout. Well, first of all, have a goals, objectives, and a vision, and stick to those goals, objectives, and visioning. For me, we're all different, but I can see in a lot of the folks that are in this position, our satisfaction, our reward isn't getting necessarily recognized. Some people do this to get recognized or awards or those kind of things. Ours is successful, seeing things actually come to fruition and actually work. And like I said, Yucca Bridge and a lot of the things that has happened in Apple Valley, nobody's going to remember you for that, and nobody, and we don't care. I mean, but we know. And I can look back and say, and even the Sing Center, there's a lot of controversy on those kind of things. You've got to realize that you got to look at the future and look at what's accomplished and be satisfied with that. That's what gives me a lot of reward. Also seeing the employees be successful at the town, seeing their smiles on their face when they accomplish their goals gives me a warm feeling. I did that with my employees. I have a lot of employees that work for me even after I retired or head of different corporations, own their own business, are part of management and leadership, and they come back to me and say they learned a lot of that from the way we operated. That makes me feel good. That's where my reward is. And so that's what keeps me from getting burned out.
Perfect.
Alexis? Oh, she's got a script. All right. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
So as you mentioned, you originally came here to Victor Valley College to do automotive. Who or what inspired you to run for the mayor of Apple Valley?
Well, I mentioned before, I was not necessarily a public speaker, and I did not like to do that. I'm not I was never wanted to be a public person. I enjoyed kind of working behind the scenes, solving problems, doing those kind of things. I got involved in my automotive industry, over the years, and we did some innovative things. My first public speaking was in front of 8,000 people at a conference in Atlanta, and boy, I was nervous about that. And I had to have PowerPoint. You can imagine, this is 1996, and I still kept my script from that. Boy, I practiced for that for 3 months. So I forced myself into that. But getting involved, helping solve problems, like I said before, taking into my own hands. I was coaxed into running for originally Apple Valley Fire Protection District. They were having a lot of financial issues in the mid-'80s, and there wasn't a lot of business minds that were at that district. We had a new fire chief. They lost a lot of funding through Prop 218. They had spent all their reserves. They had to close 3 fire stations. That was a problem, and I wanted to help solve that. So I ran for office with a promise that I would bring financial stability back to the fire district. And I was on there for 5 years, and we were successful. We got a Measure V passed, got funding passed, opened up all 5 stations again, got paramedic service working, got a lot of things that weren't available. Along came Apple Valley. They were having trouble with economic development. There was people that were not understanding how investment works and how you get tax dollars and how those tax dollars translate to public services. So I was forced to volunteer, whatever you want to call, to run for public office in 2021 and ultimately on the council. So I did that in order to solve some issues, and I resolved there was a lot of things going on there, not enough time for me to tell you all the issues, but a lot of economic development issues that we worked on since then. And we used to talk about when I was growing up, we had to go to San Bernardino to buy shoes. And so I wanted to resolve that problem. So thank you.
Seth?
Well, I want to say thank you so much for being here at Victor Valley College and making room in your schedule. Thank you for all your service for the town of Apple Valley and throughout the high desert. I'm gonna switch up the question. I want to ask if you could have any superpower to help improve the town of Apple Valley, what superpower would that be?
I don't know. That's a good question. I never asked. I never had a superpower, but I guess if I had the ability to make money or go back and have a tree that could solve, revenues are the main issue that folks want to see things happen. They want to see everything's an evolution, not a revolution. I'd love to see things happen today and have all the roads paved and all the parks open and all the trees and everything perfect, but that's not reality. So if I had the superpower, it'd be to wave a magic wand and make Apple Valley the vision that everybody would like to see today rather than waiting till tomorrow. I mean, there's a lot of things in my head, and that's what gets me up every morning, getting excited about bringing baseball parks and bringing the parks back, hiking trails, paving the roads, all the things that everybody wants to do. But it takes time. But that's also the fun part too, is making that happen and listening to folks. So I don't know that I'd really want to have that power, because then I'd have no job. So, but that'd be kind of cool to give everything everybody wanted. Student body president.
Yes. So my question is a two-parter.
Okay.
Okay, so out of the entire high desert, what is your favorite thing to do in general?
Oh.
And then also, what is your favorite thing to do just in Apple Valley?
For Apple Valley, I'll answer that first. I love going to the events. I love going to the concerts in the park and all the things and talking to people and talking to the booths, talking to other business owners and listening to their solutions, listening to their problems, listening to what they'd like to see and listen to their vision, not only for Apple Valley, just in general. Because like I said, I talk to legislators both at the state, federal, and county levels all the time, and I can help communicate that. So I kind of act as an in-between. And for whatever reason, I like doing that. That's one of my fun things. As far as the personal side, spend a lot of time with my family. I have 2 grandkids down in San Diego. We go down to their down where they play ball and soccer and baseball and basketball and all the different things they do. And I'm a big sports advocate. So we used to have season tickets for the Chargers down in San Diego. We used to go to all those. So we try to go to a lot of live games that we can. I'm not going to say I'm depending on what time of day and who I'm with, I'm either a Dodger fan or Padres fan. So all my friends are Dodger fans up here. My kids live in San Diego, so when we go down there, all my Padres uniforms are Padres hats, and when I'm up here, I wear Dodgers. So, but I love to go to professional games. I have a Harley Davidson. I've ridden motorcycles all my life, ridden in the dirt, played golf all my life. So those are my two big hobbies. Snow skiing, I'm kind of out. My body is worn out from that activity, but I snow skied a lot over the years. I think 3 years was the last time I was in Big Bear and snow skied. But we go to Big Bear and travel a lot. So that's our fun things. It's just connecting.
Wow, Dodgers and Padres.
I know. I shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
I've just lost at least 50% of the vote.
Yeah. You have a very complicated life, my friend.
I do.
Wow. So, well, Mayor, I want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your life to be here with the students today at Victor Valley College. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I was glad to be back here. I try to get over here as much as I can.
Yeah, no, it's really cool to see you in this capacity. I wanted to do a really good, fun, invigorating interview with you. I know, in the other capacity when I was a journalist proper, I'd grill you a lot more. I think this was a slightly different
I'm used
pace.
to that too, so I'm okay.
No, it was fun, and I think it was kind of eye-opening for students to see you like this, and for them to hear this interview. It'll be pretty awesome. So thank you so much. We want to thank everyone for checking us out exclusively through the free VVC mobile app. If you're on the go listening to the audio version of the show, thank you once again for streaming Ramplify on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or your favorite podcast app. Thanks for listening. I'm Andrew Caravella. We'll see you on the next one. Later.
Ramplify, the podcast, is filmed and recorded in Victorville, California. This podcast is made possible with the support of the Associate Student Body of Victor Valley College. The views and opinions expressed in this production are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Victor Valley College or its affiliates. Ramplified is hosted by Andrew Caravella and produced by Robert A. Swool. The production crew includes officers of the Associate Student Body for the 2025-2026 academic year. Ramplified Season 2 gives special thanks to our sponsors, Victorville Cadillac, VVC's Welding Department, Joe and Sydney Monty, and Jacobo Vince Cara. Podcast audio distribution made possible by KVVB Television. Additional sponsorship made possible through Lowe's Home Improvement in Victorville. I'm Social Science Senator Seth Cavallo. For more information about this podcast, please contact info@vvc.edu.
Support for Ramplify comes from Victorville Cadillac, offering new and pre-owned Cadillac vehicles with financing options, including pre-approval available. More information about Victorville Cadillac's latest inventory is at vvcadillac.com.